Hi, my name is Wade Wickus, CEO of Supply Chain Secret Sauce. We are the secret sauce to your supply chain, and we help many companies, specifically in e-commerce, to succeed in their supply chains. On this next podcast, you're really going to enjoy this. Check it out, and thank you for watching this channel.
Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to the Home Delivery World Show, and I'm here with none other than Jonathan Briggs of Nimble.ai. Jonathan Briggs is the VP of Sales and Solutions. He resides in Dayton, Ohio. He's had three basic sectors of experience across the supply chain robotics and e-commerce, omni-channel fulfillment, and small parcel delivery. He currently heads up sales and their parcel strategy. And in the past, he's had a deep experience at Dexterity Robotics and automation for the parcel carriers, as well as automated fulfillment solutions. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Wade, thanks for having me. And I feel like we needed to play some walk-up music on that introduction there. So, but yeah, great to be here. Excited to be at Home Delivery World and looking forward to today's conversation.
Oh, it's going to be great. I mean, robotics. You can't go wrong with robotics. It's a hot topic today. And I'm so glad you took time out of this fantastic show that's very busy and wonderful to be here. But the first question everybody has about robotics, Nimble.ai, that is just disrupting a certain part of the supply chain. You want to explain to everybody what you all do and how you're disrupting supply chains with what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, with a name like Nimble, I think we're aptly named for what we're ultimately doing, but we're a handful of things in one. We're a robotics and AI company. We're a data company. We're a fulfillment company, and we're a transportation company. And we roll that all up currently as an e-commerce fulfillment provider that is highly autonomous, and transforming to be fully autonomous is the end goal, to do fully autonomous supply chain.
So you're solving the problem of supply chains today of people really trying to find the amount of people we need to fulfill all the things that we are fulfilling now with an e-commerce economy. Complicated out there. So these robots, tell me about how generally that works.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's multiple solves that we have, and the obvious and most probably heaviest impact, it is labor, right? We've had problems for years now of availability of it, quality of it, rising cost of it, far exceeding inflation, and on and on and on it goes. So what our team has been able to create is highly dexterous robots. We've taken human-like skills, applied them to robots through artificial intelligence and vision systems, and have been able to teach robotics to pick and place millions upon millions of unique product types and profiles and formats so in our fulfillment centers, we have completely eliminated pickers in the building. So in a typical warehouse environment, especially a peer of ours in a 3PL, that's about 65% of the headcount in the building is tied to just getting products picked off the shelf and heading back towards a pack out station, as an example. So we're well underway. We started with that lowest hanging fruit and solved picking first, and then trying to head down the path right now, heavy into R&D on autonomous pack out. And then we have plans to get into ultimately loading and unloading of trucks and robotic sortation and all kinds of things to really get more people out of the building.
You must come to your job every day and go, wow, this is super fun, because I'm just excited listening to what you're saying. This is pretty neat.
I mean, it is. It's the future of supply chain. And it really is, like, when we've been in the facility countless times now, and I feel like every time I see something new I didn't see before, you get that kind of, that tingly feeling, kid in the candy store type stuff. For nerds like myself that have been in supply chain for 20 plus years, like, I never imagined that we would have the capabilities that we have today. And there's still so much more to be done yet. It's not like we're on the end of it. We're in the beginning stages of it, but you can geek out in a minute in what we're doing. And every time you come back, there's more to see.
Well, I know there's only a handful, if not just a few companies that are even taking this on. So in the future, I can see this growing quite a bit. How do you see that this will change how a company, a shipper approaches fulfillment in the future? Do you see like this kind of disruptive activity of having robots and these items and how they're packed and all that kind of stuff? How will it change how a shipper approaches fulfillment? Let me know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I think it changes several things. One is, we're designing the warehouse around robotics and systems. Like, historically, everything's been built around people and processes and ergonomics and safety and, all the limitations and capabilities that people have to do to be in a safe work environment. And then in 1.0 of robotics, it was basically taking a people purpose robot and putting some type of a system in there that was, again, designed for people to be involved in that process. And we've started opposite of that and have built from the ground up a building around it. And so we got rid of aisles and racking and work vertically in a building. And we look at buildings through the lens of a cube. So you're going to notice this after I make this comment here, but as you go and look at your LinkedIn feed and look at every warehouse that you're going to see now after this conversation, you're going to focus on what I'm going to tell you. So every warehouse today pretty much has a building like we're in now, 40 feet high buildings, and they work 6 to 7 feet high because people can only work 6 to 7 feet high. And they've got 5 to 6 feet of aisles in between racks. And so I can put hundreds of thousands of units in every one of those aisles and make it productive warehouse space. And I can take that 25 plus feet of space above the people that you're going to see in those pictures, and I can work every cubic inch of that. And so now, as I look at all these photos, I look at, some of my past life operators, and I go, these people are admired to be some of the best operators in the world, and they can't use 30 feet of space above them in the same 100. So now they put million square foot of warehouse out in what I can do in about 250,000 square feet from a throughput. So redesigning the buildings is one of those things. Secondly, I think it's the business model. I don't know that everybody's going to build it themselves anymore because it's so capital intensive. It requires, just from all the things we talked about, to take advantage of 2.0 robotics and 3.0 robotics, you're going to need a new building. So now you got to go build and hire and take you years to get there. Or you can come to somebody like us that's vertically integrated, builds the hardware, builds the software and the systems, and runs the warehouse. And you can do that without any capital outlay in a unit economics that is going to be around what you're paying today, and not have to put 40, 50 million, $100 million down and hope you amortize that asset enough, and let us keep doing R&D work. So I think that's the two big changes. Is we're going to change how we build buildings, and I think business models will change, and we'll see more people lean into third-party providers instead of try to go it alone and be so capital intensive.
Wow, because you're right. I mean, you don't think about it until you just said it, and then that's fantastic. Well done, well done. Is there a specific brands or products, certain dimension or weight is there limitations at all to this, or do you really see this like in the next 5 years? Really, anything could go through robotics. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think ultimately everything, for the most part, can be automated. We have a lane that we've designed around, so we do have limitations around the size of a product and the form factor of it. We're using some form of a tote system for storage. So first and foremost, products have to be able to fit in there. So there's a size component to it. Next, there's a weight. I can only put so much weight in there. Robots can only at least our robots are designed to lift a certain weight. So there's a payload capacity. So we've geared it heavily towards smaller type products that more often than not have highly complex SKU bases with high travel times in a more manual warehouse. So apparel, footwear, health and beauty, some of the food-based products and supplements and things of that nature. But that's what we've designed ours for. Not to say that somebody else can't do a heavy payload robot and do more of industrial, but we're so heavily focused on e-commerce, and those categories we just talked about are very challenging because of high SKU counts as well as lots of units per order typically. So, when you start adding 3, 4, 5, 6 units that you got to be picked and you have to push a cart all over, we feel like we make a very, very large impact there shortly. Just because we've only focused on the area, I don't think the capabilities of artificial intelligence and robotics are limited to that. You just have to design the hardware and the robot to be able to do something different. And there's lots of people they're just not running their own networks. They're installing their capabilities in somebody else's warehouses, being sold as part of their systems that they have in there. But yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of this. It has to, right? For all the things we just talked about of,
Sure.
As we add more e-commerce, we add more inefficiencies to everything. And still, we did see some slowdown of growth from, 20 and 21, what we saw in direct to consumer, but there's still planned growth for direct to consumer to have. And so when you start operating warehouses, unit level activity versus pallet in, pallet out, case in, case out, we're introducing inefficiencies, which then will continue to impact negatively the labor market as well as small package. The more parcels that go out that go 1 pound to the doorstep requires more drivers, more delivery people, so on. And that's the same labor pool as a 4 walls warehouse is, either they're going to be drivers or they're going to be pickers and packers and stuff. And so all of that inefficiency that's brought on by e-commerce and direct to consumer and store replenishment and stuff like that has operations handled unit level continues to drive problems for labor.
You know what? I'm going to classify this as a disrupting masterpiece. I mean, it really is a masterpiece, and it's well needed. Very, very interesting. Of the name Nimble, can you talk a little bit about AI and how that's used?
Yeah, I mean, at the foundation, we're an AI company. So AI stands for artificial intelligence. We truly are an AI company in that we now have turned the systems over to be self-operators. We do that through reinforced learning. We have, a single application that runs across all our network, as well as any of our systems that are deployed outside of our network and some of our robotics as a service customers. And so in there, those skills that are learned at any given warehouse apply to all warehouses in the network. And it's a neural network. I mean, it really is an AI brain. Like I said in the front end, we're taking human-like skills that we take for granted every day of moving my arm and knowing that if I grab this water bottle, I need to pick it up a certain way versus if I grab the microphone or I grab something big and heavy. It has a different level of forces needed to pick it up. It needs to move at a different speed to move it from point A to point B. And so we use that vision system similar to what you see in self-driving cars, where it's understanding the world around it and making decisions in, nanoseconds, and to know that, okay, that's a water bottle, so I need to do the water bottle activity versus this is a t-shirt and I need to do t-shirt level activity. And that continues to change, right? Products change. We add new customers, they add new SKUs. So we can also build parameters. One of the things that's really, fairly unique to us, not exclusive to us, but unique, is that we also have what we call teleoperator in the loop. So where the neural networks have not learned something and get hung up, instead of shutting down a system and say, okay, we got to go home for the day, we are dialed in there and remote operators can go in and override and make that activity happen so the rest of the network can move on. But it's also part of the learning process. So now it's teaching that skill and saying, okay, then this is now a pair of pants skill, and you need to use the same force that you did for the t-shirt and so on. And so that continues to do that. And we have less and less people in that loop now. And like I said, the system is self-correcting, is setting up its own routes to move from point A to point B, and dynamic pick paths, dynamic storage and slotting, all happening now at the machine level, versus in our 1.0, there was a lot of still people telling it what to do and where to go and how to do it. But now we've taught it enough that we have flipped the switch over and we're fully on. So very different, AI is hot right now. You can't open up your LinkedIn feed and not see something about AI, but this is very different than what we think about of like Chat GPT or some of these other things that are helping people write papers better and write emails better and fill your spam box with better. This is using it to do pick and pack and place operations that, need more throughput and more capability. And the nice thing is we do this, we're seeing, like I said, we shrunk that building down, we got rid of people, and we're seeing the unit throughput start to become superhuman, where if we were running these with, traditional IO-based system and maybe have a material handling equipment that moves product from point A to point B, we might move products in the 100 to 120 units per hour, and we're pushing now to over 300 units per hour of activity. Wow. So we're really starting to, and that's not where we're stopping. That's where we're at today. It's not just about labor. It is also creating a new level of speed and throughput that we can get products in and out the door much quicker and highly reliable, with completely keeping people out of the products. And so we have inventory accuracy gains, and as we can keep people from moving and pilfering or dropping or accidentally placing things. So AI is so much more than what we see in our feeds, and I'm glad that you called out about the .ai. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, it seems really next level. You just don't hear. You hear about the fantasy world, and it looks like you're living in the real world. To a degree, the fantasy world is right where Nimble.ai is, which is pretty amazing. When we talk about next level, I just wanted, because you are a leader and you've led people and staff and teams throughout your career, I wonder what advice you would give to the new leaders, supply chain professionals out there to help improve or prepare for what's coming.
Yeah, it is a great question. And I think I would tell them what I did 20 some years ago has paid off dividends. I didn't know I was building a career out of loading and unloading trucks in high school, but it being in the operation, taking a job, whether it's while you're in high school or while you're in college, in a warehouse or in a transportation environment, is totally different than going through a logistics program, right? Like when I started, there wasn't logistics programs. I got a school of hard knocks through UPS and other carriers, but now you can go to almost any given school and get it. But reading about it and talking about all this theory and watching videos with all this what's real, not real that we were just talking about, it's totally different than going out on the floor and understanding all these problems of inventory accuracy and order accuracy and bottlenecks in a warehouse, and what does it take to get if you're talking end-to-end supply chain, what does it take to get from manufacturer to a customer's doorstep and everything in between? You can't do that unless you're on the floor, in my opinion. And I'm not saying live there your whole life, but don't look too down on that. I think we, in today's age, we've looked down on that blue collar work as bad, and it's not. And it's an important part of it. And I think everybody should spend some time, even in our company, we require every single employee in our business to spend at least 1 day per year in the warehouse. And it's a required, tracked and, watched all the way up through HR, because we have all these, lots of younger folks that are doing, we're a tech company that has an operations department. So lots of engineers, lots of developers that have gone from school right into us, and they don't even sometimes know what we are trying to accomplish. And so when they have to go out and experience their user interface that they created hands-on and see what the operators feel, or interact with the robots, or see how a robot took 3 lefts and it could have taken 1 right to get to the same spot, like little things. And because the other thing that I always tell people, that, and they laugh at me when I say this, is I think one of the most critical parts of robotics is industrial engineering, and it's trying to really understand motions and efficiencies of motion and reduction of touch and watching it. So it's one thing to get a product to be picked and placed and moved, but now I got to do it so I can get superhuman throughput. And the only way to do that is just a lot of watching and observing and stuff like that. So, so going back to young leaders in the space, get hands-on, understand this, what really happens day to day, so that it'll help you make much better decisions across your teams, across your tech stacks, across your partners that you choose, all of those different things, versus if you always just stay front of office and in theoretical world versus the reality, I think is the number one recommendation that I would have there.
Yeah, I really love your insights. I think it's really important for the people listening that they take heed to that the future is really not only understanding day-to-day problems, but also being able to work with that programming engineer as it relates to those problems, so that you can solve those problems through the technology stack. And not like typical where you go out and you train an employee. To your point, you're going out and you're rewriting code, or you're training the robot through that aspect. So that's a great call out, and I think that is the future of supply chain professionals. And it's very interesting to think about that today. That's really cool.
And if I may add one more area, this is probably a little self-serving, but the other thing that I would encourage people to do, maybe they don't have the ability to go hands-on, is to also engage in new coming and emerging technologies. I think, we see this firsthand, right? I lead sales. We're fairly unknown. People don't know Nimble. It's not a lot of brands today. And so we're just one more name in a crowd as we fill people's inboxes or phone calls and stuff like that. But there's real solutions that are solving real problems that unfortunately takes a while to build up the customer base. And sometimes you need people to lean into it. So if you're not waiting to test a technology or use a solution until it's proven and driven, you've missed the boat. Right. And the nice thing about it, when you work with people on the front end of it, is they look heavily for voice of customer and will help. You can be a part of designing it and making it something that's even more important and useful to you. So I would encourage people to do, be an early adopter. I know we're all busy and we're annoyed by the spam, but inside some of that noise are cutting edge solutions that are going to change the world, and you might be sleeping on it. So spend a little time, carve out time, whether it's, talking to people that come to you, or coming to a trade show like we're doing here at Home Delivery World, and take that time to go into that startup land and see what's out there and see what's coming, so that you don't get locked into a legacy system that hamstrings your business over time because we were too busy to take that call. I remember early on when I got in sales with DHL, when I started, was considered a challenger brand in the US, if you can imagine that. And so there was a training cartoon that I remember was a picture of like a general in the army, and it's kind of a custard last stand look, and Indians are firing arrows at him. The Gatling gun sales guy is standing on the hill and the general says, "Not now, I'm too busy." And sometimes people have that thing that's going to solve your problem. And yes, we are busy. And yes, when you work with technology that's not fully baked, it does have some challenges, and it's not good. But the brands that have leaned into us have exponentially changed their supply chains and helped us change our company, because they gave us good feedback, and it was an investment of their time, but they're seeing huge ROI as a result. So that's one other thing I wanted to add there. Like I said, it was a little self-serving, but
yeah, no problem.
But just wanted to put that out there.
No, it's a great call out. It's a great call out. And supply chain secret sauce, that's what we try to do, is connect brands with the right technology. And yeah, we like to keep up to date in what's cutting edge and dynamic out there. So appreciate that. How can people get a hold of Nimble AI? Is there a website you want to share or?
Yes, it's Nimble.ai. Just that simple. You don't have to put any letters ahead of it, just Nimble.ai. Also myself, I'm active on LinkedIn. My team's active on LinkedIn. We do have a contact us form on there. I think, yes, to any of those things, reach out. If you want to just chat, you want to talk shop, you want to learn more, any and all those things. We're active networkers, so we're not always just selling things. We do like to just talk shop and see what's going on in the market and stuff like that. So, feel free, stop by, drop a web form, hit us up on LinkedIn or whatever. We'd love to talk.
Sounds great. And I'll put your LinkedIn profile link into the description, as well as your website into the description of this podcast. And I just really appreciate your time and all the information you shared, Jonathan. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
No, Wade, my pleasure. And also just a plug for you, what Wade does and how he does his business is awesome. How he looks at problems and looks at solutions and marries up, brands and business partners. He's top notch at what he does. So definitely encourage you, if you're not working with him and you need a little bit of help, fractional CFO or fractional COO, or help trying to figure out a logistics solution or improve your warehousing or find a third party, definitely worth chatting with Wade as well.
Well, thank you very much, Jonathan. Have a great show.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this video. We'll have more videos coming down the road. This is an exciting adventure for us. My name is Wade Wickus. I'm CEO of the Supply Chain Secret Sauce. We specialize in e-commerce and building bulletproof supply chains to scale. We're helping companies every day, and we do this through your support. Please pass this on, link this to other things, and hope you found the content very valuable. Have a great day, and thank you.